in the last 30 days. Number 1, a plague of rattlesnakes. The endless megadrought in our western states is having a lot of unexpected consequences, and this includes a plague of rattlesnakes. According to the Daily Mail, rattlesnakes have been moving into urban areas in California in large numbers because of the exceedingly dry conditions. The report states that much of the U.S. West is currently undergoing a record heat wave and its worst drought in at least 20 years, with temperatures soaring into the triple digits over the weekend. And wildlife experts are saying that the extreme weather is creating the perfect conditions for increased interactions between humans and animals. Rattlesnakes, in particular, have been seen moving into urban areas in larger numbers and are being found on porches, yards, nearby pools, and under children's play equipment. Number 2, a plague of grasshoppers. The megadrought in western states has also created a plague of grasshoppers. It turns out that the little critters absolutely love the hot, dry conditions, and they have been multiplying like crazy. And federal officials are extremely concerned, and they are gearing up for the largest grasshopper killing campaign since the 1990s. Number 3, birds are dropping dead in very large numbers. In Indiana, unusual bird deaths have been reported in 15 different counties, and authorities have absolutely no idea why this is happening. The Department of Natural Resources has warned that songbirds have now died in 15 counties across Indiana and more across the region. One DNR specialist stated that I've never seen them exhibit the gooey eyes and crustiness in addition to the neurological symptoms. She said that she's getting reports of nearly a dozen songbirds a week, and in the last month, she says they've had at least 100 reports and no one knows what's causing it. And in addition to Indiana, large number of birds are also dropping dead in Washington, D.C., Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Kentucky, and Ohio. Number 4, unprecedented flooding in Detroit. A massive storm last week turned I-94 into a lake and caused horrific flooding in both Detroit and Dearborn. Many areas remain underwater, and police are warning people not to play in the water because there's a good chance that it could contain raw sewage. And number 5, the worst heat wave to ever hit the Northwest. We have just seen the highest temperature that has ever been recorded in the city of Portland, Oregon. And the same thing is true for Seattle, Washington. And the same thing is true for dozens of other cities in the Northwest. In fact, a little community in British Columbia actually just recorded the hottest temperature in the history of Canada. A meteorologist says that this unprecedented heat wave is being caused by an absolutely massive heat dome. And there's only a 1 in 10,000 plus chance that something like this could happen. He goes on finally to ask the question, so why are so many crazy things happening in the United States all at the same time? I don't know. But I do believe that our nation has entered a time of tremendous instability. And I believe that it's going to get a whole lot worse. The stable conditions of the last several decades are disappearing, and I believe that we have now entered an era when global events are going to get really wild. Unfortunately, most Americans are still anticipating that things will get back to the way they were in the old days. But at this point, the old days are gone for.
Yeah, this shit hard.
Yeah, that was cool.
Shalom. All praise, glory, honor, and fear. Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kakadash. It belongs to the elders, the king of flesh. All this plagues and all this judgment, see, and on the great time of all those that greatly exalt themselves and are greatly renowned and praised and lifted up. They lift up themselves. We're in the time of their great destruction. And this is why all these unprecedented things is happening with the floods and, the birds dying, the grasshopper plague, the plague of the heat, that it's been the hottest ever in the Northwest, and that's throughout all the states right now. Like, I'm out here in the West, it's like in the East, on the North Shore, right, the Northeast, and it's just as hot, you see. So we're in the time of that day, that oven, and what the Lord is doing, he's increasing the spirit, he's increasing the pressure, the signs, the heat, and the fire, and those that aren't fire or that don't have Yahushua in them, right? they're going to be crushed by all this. They're going to be destroyed by all this. And that's why not everyone can really like receive the word of the Lord in this time. See, there was a time before where anyone could receive it. Oh, Israel and the children of God. And oh, yeah, it was cool. But now we're in the heat of the day. We're in the heat of things. You know, we're in the time of persecution, in the time of judgment, in the time of the chastisement, and the affliction, the persecution, so on and so forth. And, you know, just like, you know, she was bringing out all this news about what's happening on the outward, right? What you can see with your carnal eyes, right? What's happening in the flesh, what's happening with the beasts and the animals, changing their places with the snakes, you know, leaving their place with the snakes, removing their place, like it says in Job, the beasts, and also in Ezra, the beast shall change their places. And this is all because the Lord's getting ready for ultimate judgment, because he's saving the best for last, really the worst for last, because you have the worst of all here in the States, here in this kingdom, this world, this nation, which is Esau and the 2/3, you know, the guys in this truth for the most part. You know, you have the famous of the all famous Israel in the States, you know. And what I'm trying to say is, you know, because they can bring out that news. Yeah, they can bring out that news. Even false prophets can bring out that news. Like, they can see with their carnal eye. But when it comes to seeing men's heart, their deepest thought, what they're really in this truth for, and knowing men's thoughts, like Yahushua, he knew men's thoughts even before they spoke. A lot of guys don't have that spiritual report. And that's why it's written in Isaiah, who hath believed our report? Or who hath the arm of the Lord been revealed to? And that's just the truth. The truth is not many. You see? So when you go over here and get this first precept, and that's what we're doing. We're bringing out the inmost thoughts of men. What we're doing is we're exposing, we're revealing every man's heart and their deepest thoughts to the Lord and to the Word, Yahushua, in these last moments, in these last times, these last days. All right. And that's why the Lord called them hypocrites in Matthew 16, because they can discern the sky and the heavens and this, but when it comes down to knowing that we're in a time of judgment and where it's beginning at first, they don't know, or they ignore it, you see. So because that's what guys ain't doing. They're not bringing out the wickedness of our people. They're actually just saying, oh yeah, all Israel shall be saved. Well, you have to explain that. How is all Israel going to be saved? They're going to be saved by Yahushua through the elect. But within that, you're going to have the 2/3 be cut off and die here, man. They're going to destroy. They're going to be left here for the beast to tear, the famine, the pestilence, the plagues, you know, the nuclear missiles, all these things. Because them nuclear missiles, that's a plague too. That's a plague too. So just as Egypt was being plagued, now America, this modern day Egypt, is being plagued. And, you know, you really have to do your own diligence to make your carnal election sure. No one can hold your hand. See, like, guys have this like mind of like, oh, you know, elder or camp or a brother's gonna hold your hand, they're gonna carry you, and they're gonna take, you know, like nah, man. This truth is about rebuke and chastisement and getting yourself right so that you'll be able to carry your own weight, and you'll be able to bear your cross daily. You know, and by you doing that, you can be daily in the temple, teaching, edifying. Because when you teach, what do? You grieve the enemy. What's the last enemy? Death. And that's what we're up against. We're against a lot of deadly enemies. And that's one thing David asked the Lord to deliver him from his deadly enemies. You see? Galatians 6 and verse 5. For every man shall bear his own burden. So every man's going to bear their own cross. And if you don't bear your own cross and follow after the Lord, you're not worthy of him. And a lot of guys are not worthy of him. And that's why the Lord's given them over unto an imputed mind. And like Lord said in Sirach, give me any plague but the plague of the mind. So guys are plagued in their mind. See, and that's the huge, this is the biggest, one of the biggest prophecy, one of the biggest signs before the end, the plague of the mind, the plague of the heart, which has been infesting and spreading to a lot of guys, to the multitudes that was born in vain. It says, let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. So you have to sow the word. The field is the world. You have to sow the word, which is Yahushua, the seed. You see, you have to plant, you have to sow that. You see, but what guys are doing, they're sowing you a whole different seed, not the seed of Yahushua, but a different seed, a vocab of men, of carnal talk. You see, Matthew 25:8, and going to what the brother was saying in his in the takedown last night, the takeover. He was saying how like the time is coming when a lot of people, right, that they've been overcome with wine and their light is being turned to darkness, they're going to come to us and say, oh, we need oil, give us of your oil. And basically we're going to say what the scriptures say, Matthew 25:8, and the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. So God's lamp have gone out, so they don't know where they're going. They don't know what they're talking about when they're bringing out videos. They don't know really where they're they don't know if they're coming or they're going, basically. They're just blind. They don't realize what's going on. They don't realize that the judgment is already happening. We're already in the day of the Lord, man. You see? Says Psalms 110:3 says, thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power, in the beauties of holiness from the womb of the morning. Thou hast the dew of thy youth. Yeah, Slakia. So what's going on now is that our people are going to be willing to do the work of the Lord sincerely when it's too late. That's when they're going to be wanting to. That when they see the men of the Lord being raised up, when they see the men of the Lord being delivered in the chariots and so on and so forth. They're going to see men that are being delivered and that they hated, that they came against, and then they shall be willing in the day of that power. But by then it's going to be too late. Their lamp has gone out. They're going to have no more oil. They're not going to be able to get into the wedding. Because in the ancient days, you'd have to have oil and a lamp and a candle to be able to get to the wedding, because usually it was in the evening and with the sun going down and it get dark. So you'd have to be able to have that light to get back home and so on and so forth. So that's what we see happening right now, man. Guys are going to want to see. That's why the Lord says, seek the Lord while he may be found. See, the Lord is nigh right now. He's close, but pretty soon he's going to take his spirit, take his truth, and take his men away, one way or the other. You see, but by then it's going to be too late for a lot of you guys. You didn't want to bring out Matthew 23. You didn't want to go into Luke 11. You didn't want to receive instruction and reproof. So you're going to be destroyed, man. It says, this is Revelation 16:21, and there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. So we're living in a time of great plagues, of great offenses. Guys are offending, man. They're offending the Lord's little ones. They're an offense to the Lord. And the Lord said in Romans 14, if you eat with offense, then you're damned. And a lot of guys they're damned, man. You see, Numbers 4:36, and the men which Moses sent to search the land. You see, the Lord's searching Jerusalem with candles right now, but a lot of guys, their candles are being blown out by the winds. You see. Like the parable the Lord said about the winds blew, the rains fell, but that house stood strong because it was built upon Yahushua. But if you're not built upon the word, everything you're doing is vain. Everything you're doing is just a waste. You're wasting your time, because the rain, the wind, all the judgments, all the persecutions, it's just gonna wash your house, your building away. You see, it says, who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him by bringing up a slander upon the land. Even those men that did bring up the evil report upon the land died by the plague before the Lord. But Joshua son of Nun and Caleb son of Jephunneh, which were of the men that went to search the land, lived still. So those that have a different spirit, not the spirit of the scribes, the Pharisees, but I actually lead in the righteousness of the Pharisees and scribes. They have that different spirit of Joshua and Caleb, still faithful, still loyal, still willing to go through and do anything for the Lord to receive that crown, to receive the promises and the covenants, so on and so forth. They're the ones that is gonna make it out of this wilderness, of this confusion. You know, 2 Samuel 24 and 25, and David built there an altar unto the Lord and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. So the Lord was entreated for the land, and the plague was stayed from Israel. So what we're doing when we build up each other with these videos and these sit downs, bring out the word, and being a good example and putting the Lord first in our daily routines. We're offering peace offerings, whole burnt offerings, and the plague is to be stayed upon the elect. Like when we go to Psalms 91, and Slaki, man, because this heat, man, the phone's going real slow, so I'm gonna have to close out and after a couple more presets. But Lord willing, we'll be out there for the watchmen. Hopefully the phone doesn't overheat, but how the Spirit's moving, man. See, that's another sign Lord's really closing this thing up. You see, you can't make this up, man. Psalm 91 and 10. Sorry, verse 8 says, "Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked." So those of you who have your eyes open and you're blessed and you see what's going on, you realize what's happening right now, you're seeing the reward of the wicked. You see their consolation, they received it already, the world, and they're perishing with it. It says, "Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, the habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling." So no plague is near us. No plague of the mind, no plague of the heart. No snakes or building falling or none of that, man. The Lord's with us to deliver us, man. You see, Psalms 89. In verse 18 it says, "For the Lord is our defense, and the Holy One of Israel is our King. Then thou spakest in vision." You see, so we're speaking in a vision, in parables. It says, to thy Holy One, and sayest, "I have laid help upon one that is mighty. Whew. I have exalted one chosen out of the people." So Lord, He's exalting the ones, those that are single, those that don't chase and run after and follow many different persons, but chase after the person, Yahushua. It says, "I have found David my servant, with my holy oil have I anointed him, with whom my hand shall be established, mine arm shall strengthen him." Verse 22, "The enemy shall not exact upon him, nor the son of wickedness afflict him. And I will beat down his foes before his face, and plague them that hate him." And the Lord said in the prophecy, we shall be hated of all men for the Lord's name and his sake. And not just Esau and the heathens, also our own people that hate. A bunch of haters, man, a bunch of two-faced. You see, double-tongued generation of vipers, the Lord talked about them. And they're here today. You see, and it's going to be a horrible end to you unrighteous. You see, so that's why I make the point. Let's see, the point is, a lot of you guys, you're gonna be willing in the day of thy power. Once you see it, because a lot of you guys, you have to see it to believe it, and that's not faith, and that's not pleasing to the Lord. A lot of you guys gotta die in your unfaithfulness, man, and your disbelief. But matter of fact, I'm gonna close off from this precept in Wisdom of Solomon, because yeah, my app is going very slow. It's like glitching, but I know it is. See, that's a spirit.
That was cool.
So when you go to Wisdom of Solomon, they say, "How is he numbered amongst the saints?" You see, we esteemed him. They didn't. This could be surprising, man. Who Lord's going to deliver? It's gonna be the ones that were hated of the camps and of men.
DL, this shit hard.
This year, that was cold.
Yeah, as gold in the furnace hath he tried them. So we're gold. So all these fiery things, this fiery judgment, this fiery law going forth, and this heat wave, and this day of the Lord, like it's like an oven rising, right? It's actually purifying us and strengthening us while everyone else around us is melting, man. It says, and receive them as a burnt offering. In the time of their visitation they shall shine, and run to and fro like sparks among the stubble. They shall judge the nations and have dominion over the people, and the Lord shall reign forever. But those of you that don't want the Lord to reign over you, you know, we're bringing you close, right, to the light, and we're slaying you before the Lord through the Spirit and power, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, through the Word.
DL, this
You
shit
see,
hard.
Hosea
This
6
year,
and 4.
that was cold.
He has slain them by his prophets, and his word is as a judgment and as a light that goeth forth. So we have that day star, man, and that rod of iron. You see, all praise, glory, honor, faith, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Mekakodash, Ababa Ball, hey, and keep that fire on high. Shalom.